From ancient myths to modern blockbusters, the chosen one narrative captivates us all. But what does it really mean to be chosen? And what happens when the weight of expectation crushes the individual beneath? Throughout history, we've seen them. The heroes, the prophesied ones, the destined few. Maybe you felt it yourself. That deep, unshakable sense of being different, of carrying a hidden burden that others can't see or understand. Perhaps you've been told you're special, gifted, or even chosen, but instead of feeling empowered, you feel misunderstood, isolated, even burdened by expectations you never asked for. Today, we're going to uncover the truth behind these chosen one narratives and explore what it really means to be marked as different in a world that both celebrates and fears those who stand apart. Myth 1. Self-centered. The misconception of self-centeredness often shadows those labeled as chosen ones or highly sensitive individuals. Let's dive deep into the reality behind this myth. When someone appears withdrawn or needs excessive alone time, society is quick to label them as self-absorbed. However, research tells a dramatically different story. Studies conducted at major universities have consistently shown that highly sensitive individuals actually possess an extraordinary capacity for empathy. They're like human emotional sponges, absorbing the feelings, energy, and experiences of those around them with incredible intensity. This isn't self-absorption, it's emotional overload. Consider Sarah, a gifted teacher who regularly needed quiet time after school. Her colleagues initially misinterpreted this as antisocial behavior until they realized she was processing not just her own day, but the emotional weight of 30 students' experiences. This heightened sensitivity isn't a choice, it's hardwired into their nervous system. Recent neurological studies have revealed that these individuals have more active mirror neurons, essentially experiencing others' emotions as their own. What looks like withdrawal is actually a necessary recovery period, much like how an athlete needs rest after intense physical exertion. The truth is, these individuals often think about others to a fault. They consider the ripple effects of their actions, words, and decisions on everyone around them. Their apparent self-focus is actually a manifestation of deep empathic awareness and emotional processing. If you've been labeled as self-centered due to your sensitivity, remember this. Your need for solitude and processing time isn't selfish. It's essential maintenance for your unique emotional processing system. Your empathy is a superpower, but like any power, it requires careful management and understanding. Instead of fighting against your nature, learn to embrace and explain it. Communicate your needs clearly to others. Set boundaries without guilt. And most importantly, recognize that taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary to maintain your remarkable capacity for empathy and understanding. Myth 2. Mentally ill. The label of mental illness is perhaps one of the most damaging myths surrounding chosen ones and highly sensitive individuals. Society often pathologizes what it doesn't understand, and sensitivity frequently falls victim to this misunderstanding. Let's be crystal clear. Heightened sensitivity is not a mental illness. It's a natural variation in human temperament, much like being introverted or extroverted. What we're really looking at is a different way of processing and experiencing the world around us. Dr. Rachel Thompson, a leading researcher in neurodiversity, explains, "We're seeing a concerning trend of misdiagnosis. Heightened sensitivity can present symptoms that mirror anxiety or depression, but the root cause is fundamentally different. It's like mistaking a sunburn for a fever. The redness might look similar, but the treatment needs are entirely distinct." Consider the case of Michael, a successful business executive who was initially diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. Only later did he discover that his symptoms were actually his natural sensitivity responding to an overwhelming environment. Once he learned to work with his sensitivity rather than against it, his apparent anxiety significantly decreased. The scientific evidence is compelling. Brain imaging studies show that sensitive individuals process information more deeply and respond more intensely to both positive and negative stimuli. This isn't pathology. It's a different operating system. Does this mean sensitive people never experience mental health challenges? Of course not. But it's crucial to understand that sensitivity itself isn't the problem. In fact, when properly understood and managed, it can be an incredible asset. The key is finding support that understands this distinction. Seek professionals who recognize sensitivity as a trait to be managed rather than a condition to be cured. Your goal isn't to fix your sensitivity, it's to learn how to thrive with it. Myth 3. Psychologically fragile. They're too delicate. They can't handle pressure. They'll break under stress. These dismissive statements couldn't be further from the truth when it comes to sensitive individuals. Let's shatter this myth of psychological fragility once and for all. Think about a bamboo tree. It bends with tremendous flexibility under powerful winds, while rigid oaks may snap. This is exactly how sensitive individuals operate. Their apparent fragility is actually profound adaptability and resilience. Historical figures prove this point beautifully. Consider Martin Luther King Jr., whose deep sensitivity to injustice drove him to face death threats, imprisonment, and constant pressure. His sensitivity wasn't weakness. It was the source of his strength and the fuel for historic change. Research from the University of California reveals something fascinating. Highly sensitive people often demonstrate superior stress adaptation over time. Yes, they feel things more intensely, but this very intensity builds extraordinary emotional muscles. Emily, a trauma surgeon, shares, "People assumed I was too sensitive for emergency medicine. What they didn't understand was that my sensitivity made me more attentive to subtle changes in patients, more careful in my decisions, and more resilient in crisis situations. I don't shut down under pressure. I become more focused." The truth is, bearing the weight of both your own and others' emotions requires immense strength. It's like training with weighted clothing. Everything feels heavier, but you develop remarkable emotional and psychological strength as a result. What others see as fragility is often carefully cultivated self-awareness. Sensitive individuals aren't avoiding challenges. They're processing them more deeply, understanding them more thoroughly, and developing more sophisticated coping mechanisms. Remember, your sensitivity isn't your weakness. It's the source of your resilience. You don't just survive difficult situations, you understand them, learn from them, and grow stronger through them. Myth 4. Lazy. Why can't you just push through? Everyone else manages to keep going. These accusations of laziness have haunted sensitive individuals for generations. But what looks like laziness from the outside is actually something far more complex and necessary. Picture your emotional energy like a smartphone battery. While most people's batteries drain at a steady rate, sensitive individuals are running multiple apps simultaneously, processing their environment, absorbing others' emotions, analyzing subtle details. No wonder they need more frequent recharging. The science backs this up. Studies in neuroscience show that sensitive people's brains actually work harder during simple tasks. They're processing more information, picking up on subtle cues, and integrating complex emotional data that others might miss entirely. Take David, a successful CEO who was once criticized for taking regular breaks during intense meetings. "I discovered that these short recharge periods actually made me more effective. In a 3-hour meeting, I'd rather take 2 5-minute breaks and be fully present than push through and miss crucial details." What others label as laziness is often your body's intelligent energy management system at work. It's like a high-performance car. It needs more maintenance than a standard vehicle, but that maintenance is what enables peak performance. The fatigue sensitive people experience is real and physiological. Research shows their nervous systems process stimuli more deeply, leading to faster energy depletion. This isn't a character flaw, it's a biological reality. Instead of fighting against your need for rest, learn to honor it. Develop strategic recovery periods. Plan your day around your energy levels. Remember, rest isn't lazy. It's essential maintenance for your high-powered emotional processing system. You're not choosing to opt out. You're choosing to sustain your unique capabilities for the long term. That's not laziness, that's wisdom. Myth 5. Indecisive. Why do you take so long to decide? Just make up your mind already. These familiar criticisms completely misunderstand what's actually happening when sensitive individuals face decisions. What appears as indecision is actually a sophisticated decision-making process that considers layers most people never even notice. Imagine a chess grandmaster analyzing a move. They're not just seeing the immediate consequences, but calculating dozens of potential outcomes. Similarly, sensitive individuals aren't stuck. They're processing countless emotional, practical, and interpersonal variables that others might overlook. Research in decision science reveals something fascinating. Individuals with higher sensitivity often make more effective long-term decisions precisely because they consider more factors. They're not just thinking about what works now, but how decisions will impact everyone involved over time. Take Alex, a business consultant who was initially criticized for his slow decision-making style. My colleagues would make snap decisions while I considered multiple angles. Over time, they noticed my decisions led to fewer unforeseen problems and better team harmony. What looked like indecision was actually thorough analysis. This thoughtful approach has historical precedent. Consider Abraham Lincoln, known for his careful deliberation in crucial moments. His sensitivity and thorough consideration of multiple perspectives ultimately helped preserve a nation. The reality is, sensitive individuals often make excellent decision-makers because they consider emotional implications, anticipate potential problems, factor in subtle environmental cues, think about long-term consequences, account for others' perspectives. This isn't indecision, it's comprehensive analysis. Your thoughtful approach isn't a weakness, it's a sophisticated decision-making strategy that often leads to better outcomes for everyone involved. Myth 6. Always sad, depressed. There's a common misconception that sensitive individuals, these chosen ones, live in a perpetual state of melancholy. But this fundamentally misunderstands the nature of heightened sensitivity. It's not about being stuck in sadness. It's about experiencing the entire spectrum of human emotion with extraordinary depth and richness. Think of emotional sensitivity like a high-definition television compared to standard definition. Yes, the darker scenes are more intense, but so are the vibrant ones. The joy is more radiant, the love more profound, the excitement more electrifying. Sensitive individuals don't just feel more sadness, they feel everything more vividly. Dr. Elena Martinez, a researcher in emotional intelligence, explains, highly sensitive people often experience what we call peak experiences, moments of transcendent joy and connection that others might never access. Their capacity for positive emotions is just as amplified as their experience of challenging ones. Consider Maya, a writer who describes her sensitivity. People see me taking time to process difficult emotions and assume I'm depressed. What they don't see are my moments of euphoria while watching a sunset, or the overwhelming joy I feel at a friend's success. My emotional range isn't limited to sadness. It's expanded in all directions. The latest research in neuroscience confirms this. Brain scans show that sensitive individuals respond more intensely to positive experiences, not just negative ones. They might cry more easily, but they also laugh more deeply, love more passionately, and experience wonder more profoundly. This heightened emotional capacity isn't a curse. It's a gift that allows for a richer, more nuanced experience of life. Yes, you might feel pain more deeply, but you also have access to levels of joy, wonder, and connection that others might never experience. Your sensitivity doesn't doom you to sadness. It opens the door to a fuller, more vibrant emotional life. The key is learning to navigate and embrace this expanded emotional range rather than trying to suppress it. Myth 7. Avoids confrontation equal weak. Let's address the final and perhaps most misunderstood myth, that choosing harmony over confrontation somehow equals weakness. This couldn't be further from the truth, and it's time to reframe this perspective entirely. Think of a martial artist who uses their opponent's energy to achieve victory, rather than meeting force with force. This isn't weakness, it's strategic wisdom. Sensitive individuals often employ similar sophisticated approaches to conflict resolution. Dr. William Chen, a conflict resolution expert, notes, "The ability to navigate conflict without escalation isn't just conflict avoidance, it's advanced emotional intelligence in action. It often requires more strength to remain calm and seek understanding than to react aggressively." Consider Nelson Mandela, who transformed a nation not through force, but through strategic reconciliation and understanding. His sensitivity to the complexities of human conflict became his greatest strength, not a weakness. Take Sarah, a corporate mediator. People initially mistook my diplomatic approach for weakness, but over time they realized I was achieving better outcomes than my more confrontational colleagues. I wasn't avoiding conflict. I was transforming it into opportunities for growth and understanding. The truth is, choosing a diplomatic approach requires emotional self-control, strategic thinking, deep understanding of human psychology, courage to maintain composure under pressure, wisdom to see beyond immediate confrontation. Research shows that sensitive individuals often excel at conflict resolution precisely because they can read subtle emotional cues, anticipate reactions, find creative solutions, build lasting bridges instead of burning them. This isn't weakness, it's evolved strength. Your ability to navigate conflict with wisdom and diplomacy isn't a flaw. It's an advanced social skill that creates more sustainable solutions than brute force ever could. Remember, true strength isn't measured by how loudly you can shout, but by how effectively you can resolve conflicts while maintaining relationships and dignity for all involved. This is the power of the sensitive individual, not avoiding confrontation, but transforming it into something constructive. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Throughout history, myths and legends have painted chosen ones as destined heroes, burdened with saving the world. But the real power of being chosen isn't about fulfilling some grand prophecy. It's about embracing who you truly are. Look around you. In every community, there are individuals like you, turning their sensitivity into strength, their empathy into action, their understanding into positive change. They're teachers transforming lives through deep understanding, artists capturing emotions others can't express, healers who sense pain others might miss. You don't need to carry the weight of the world. You just need to be authentically, unapologetically you. Your sensitivity isn't a burden to bear, it's a gift to share. Your depth of feeling isn't a weakness to overcome, it's a strength to embrace. Remember, you weren't chosen by destiny. You were chosen by nature to experience life in full color, to feel its deepest currents, to understand its subtle rhythms. That is your power. That is your gift. That is your truth. You are not broken. You are not flawed. You are beautifully, perfectly, uniquely you. And that is more than enough.